Okay,
there is a lot to sort through here, and no easy answers. No easy way out here.
No, but depending on who you talk to, sometimes some think that there is, the president.
Nobody thinks there is.
The conflict in the Middle East is escalating on multiple fronts this morning as Iran ramps up attacks on shipping traffic and energy infrastructure. U.S. officials say American and Israeli aerial attacks have crippled Iran's air defenses. But Iran continues to fire missiles and drones across the region. In Bahrain, new video shows firefighters battling huge flames at a fuel storage facility following an Iranian strike. Iraq was forced to shut down oil port operations this morning after deadly attacks on 2 foreign oil tankers. Iran also hit a container ship off the coast of Dubai. Overnight, the global price of oil surged at one point above $100 a barrel, even after a group of more than 30 countries pledged to tap their reserves to help stabilize markets. Meanwhile, President Trump yesterday seemed to both downplay the conflict while bragging about the success of the U.S. military. Here's what he said in both Ohio and Kentucky.
And we did a little excursion. We had to take this little few weeks of excursion, but it's been incredible. Our military is unbelievable, the job they're doing. I would say, to put it mildly, way ahead of schedule. But 47 bad years we suffered with them, not only us, the rest of the world. And we're doing our job. So we had to take an excursion, but it's doing well. The market's holding up well. Prices are coming down very substantially. Oil will be coming down. That's just a matter of war. That happens you can almost predict it. I would say it went up a little bit less than we thought. It's going to come down more than anybody understands.
You just said it is a little excursion, and you said it is a war. So which one is it? Well,
it's both. It's both. It's an excursion that will keep us out of a war, and the war is going to be. For them, it's a war. For us, it's turned out to be easier than we thought.
Operation Epic Fury. Is that a great name? Well, it's only good if you win. You can only do. And we've won. Let me tell you, we've won. You never like to say too early you won. We won. We won the bet. In the first hour, it was over. Oil prices are already coming back down, and it's going to come down. But we're not leaving until that job is finished, and it's going to be very fast. It's going to be very fast. But we're not going to count on having competent presidents.
The president's been able to, for a decade now, he's been able to kind of bend reality to what he wants reality to be. And he's been able to pull a good chunk of Americans, at least 40% at almost all times, with him. So if they were anti-war before and voted for him, if he's pro-war, they're pro-war. You could go through vaxes in the Deep South, the most vaccinated regions in America. And if you were pro-vax, he decides you're anti-vax, or the MAGA movement does. So we've seen that. That just doesn't work, unfortunately, with war. And the president realizes that. I mean, you can look at that and say he's trying to do a sales pitch, but you can't say that oil's below 100. That's going back down when it's over 100. You can't say that we've won the war when images like this are happening. Now, there are some things the president said there that actually are true, but he needs to follow through by doing what great military leaders and political leaders have always done, and be honest with the American people, or be honest with, Churchill was always bluntly honest with the British people, always saying this is going to be very difficult. This is going to be tough. FDR, the same. Things are going to get much worse before they get much better. And he's not doing that. He is right. The military was a smashing success. He's exactly right about that. He's right that the Iranian regime was the epicenter of terror for 47 years. But the idea that we've won, we haven't. The idea that this is an excursion and we're going to just zoom on back home, not so. And again,
And they lost people, and people are injured.
Well, that's another thing that what I just see as sort of we know the people who died, but you just see a little simple. Oh, yeah, by the way, 147 Americans have been injured in this war thus far. We're hearing really nothing about that. Hardly at all. So, again, Willie, when you go to war, bad things happen. And there are a lot of Americans who have seen this regime as an axis of evil for 47 years. So that's fine. But you have to tell the truth about the war, not just for Americans' sake and not just for the troops' sake, but for the president's sake, to prepare for what's coming ahead. This just is not going to be easy.
Tell the truth about it and explain to the public why we're doing this. I mean, why have those service members died? Why have 140 service members been injured? Why might this last weeks and weeks and weeks? Why might there be boots on the ground? The president left that open yesterday. More possibility of more people dying, Americans dying. Why? That's the answer.
What happened with the girls' school?
What happened at the girls' school, and we have new reporting on that as well. So the president, you heard him there. They're treating it like a game. He's excited about the name. He went through this whole thing about how they brought him 20 names and he loved Operation Epic Fury. And they're putting out these dumb memes and trivializing what war really is. And even the New York Post, the Rupert Murdoch-owned New York Post, is saying this morning, Team Trump needs to start lifting the fog of the Iran war for the U.S. public. The Post writes this: somewhere between the White House and the Pentagon, the nation's leaders need to start giving the public a regular, clear, concrete sense of how Operation Epic Fury is proceeding. Right now, regular Americans and experts closely monitoring the situation have good reason to feel confused. That includes the hundreds of thousands of people with friends and loved ones doing the fighting. A public that feels it's being leveled with as much as possible will be a lot more patient than one that feels needlessly kept in the dark. Give the nation one daily report that emphasizes the big picture and provides enough of the smaller one to build confidence. David French, you've seen war up close. It's not a game, despite the way it's being talked about by some members of this administration. And this confusion over what the objectives are and how it's going don't do the administration any favors.
Yeah, well, two things can be true at once here. One is, yes, when it comes to combat with the Iranian military, our military is excelling. It is incredibly effective. It's quite obvious that we have and retain the most powerful military in the world, and we're watching that unfold in front of us. The military is performing the mission it has been assigned. At the same time, the question is the United States being set up for failure in a larger sense, that you can win each battle with the Iranian regime, but still not come out with accomplishing the geopolitical change that you wanted?
What does that sound like?
Well, it sounds like, in some ways, the first Gulf War. In 1991,
right,
we smashed Saddam Hussein's military, just smashed it to a degree beyond here. And then there was an uprising. We haven't yet seen a full uprising that Saddam then turned around and crushed, and then proceeded to be an enemy of the United States and sow chaos in the region for the next dozen years.
That's when we got the intel that he started trying to get nuclear weapons after that. But also the second Gulf War. People forget. Everybody looks back and say, oh, that was bad from the beginning. No. March, April, May. Things were going so extraordinarily well for 3 months militarily that George W. Bush had his mission accomplished. He said the Battle of Iraq is over, something along those lines. The military operations have ceased. And then, bit by bit, that's when it started falling apart.
Well, as a supporter of the first of the Iraq War in 2003, I remember how triumphant I felt in the days after the statue falls in the middle of Baghdad. And
we all did,
you thought that this thing was all but over. And then you had this slowly building sense of dread, because you realize at the end of the day, when you're talking about the duration of a war, the enemy gets a vote.
Right.
You don't get to just sort of say, well, it's over now, unless the enemy says, oh, I agree, it's absolutely over as well. You still have a fight. You still have a conflict. And that's one of the issues here, is this unconditional surrender demand that can't be a real thing in this context. So what is the end game here? Iran gets a vote as to when this thing ends.
I mean, that's the most important thing, I think, right now for us to be figuring out, is Iran gets a vote. and they get a vote on how they're going to act after we leave the region. And a lot of people are talking about their nuclear weapons, they're talking about their missiles, and of course that's all been degraded, and I think most Americans would want it completely destroyed. That said, they get the vote. Are they going to allow oil to continue to be shipped through the straits? Are they going to allow the flow to continue? So, and Jonathan, you also, along the New York Post line, few times we will parallel a former Daily News guy with the New York Post, but you wrote for The Atlantic last night about the war not being sold. And by the way, that is not an insignificant thing. Cap Weinberger and Colin Powell and the Weinberger-Powell doctrine, you know, that sort of formed over a decade, said never go to war until you sell it to the American people. You have to have substantial support from the American people and from Congress before the first shots are fired.
Yeah, so yesterday on Truth Social, President Trump posted a lengthy, detailed case why he believed drastic action was needed to remove a complete and total disaster from power. He was talking about Congressman Thomas Massie. He did more of a sales job yesterday on Truth Social about why he is trying to have Massie beaten in the primary than he has in terms of selling the goals of this war. He got no buy-in from Congress. He's gotten no buy-in from the American people. You just mentioned both Presidents Bush, did that, even as conflict soured eventually. They did build a coalition. They did sell the peace. And there were Republicans I spoke to for this who are deeply nervous about how this will play out in November, particularly if this war does extend. And this is administration, Joe, we've been talking about it all week, that is not viewing this conflict in terms of days. They're viewing it in terms of weeks or more.
Right.
The Pentagon, per reporting, preparing for could last 100 days or more. That they know this is going to be a struggle. And it's as much as the president is starting to talk about wins, it's hard for him to have an off-ramp to declare victory if the same regime is in power. And potentially, the Ayatollah's son, more hard-lined than his father, and now, of course, embittered because most of his family has been killed by the Americans and the Israelis. So, Chris Matthews, you're also writing about the war in Iran for your Hardball Substack, and you say this: it's back at U.S. again, this deep-seated hatred for what we did in 1953, when the CIA overthrew their government and inserted the monarchy of the Shah. It has been this way ever since 1979. Expect the same persistent hatred this time around. It is consistent with our history, but more so. They will bomb their neighbors, choke the Strait of Hormuz, whack back at Israel. Most frightening, they know us. They know what hurts us most, what angers Donald Trump most, oil, the market generally, and they will play nasty. And Chris, you write about your own experience. Of course, you know 1979, what happened then, and it's a real warning, you say, for this president.
It's amazing. David French said it so well. The enemy gets a vote. Back in 79 and 80, we spent a horrendous year of 1980. All those days and nights, every time you turn on the television, it would be America held hostage at 11:30 at night in the East Coast. It became a Nightline, of course, later on. Cronkite would end his show with how many days the hostages have been held. They knew exactly what they're doing. They were decapitating Jimmy Carter. And so the hostage, watch how every day they had the flag burnings. Every day they had the trooping of the diplomats, the 50 diplomats walking around blindfolded to humiliate them. They were humiliating Carter every single day, and it was on our television. It was hurting Carter, and he ended up losing. And finally, a couple days before the election, I was on Air Force One, and I got to tell you, we get a word from Tehran. Oh, the mullahs are meeting. They may be making ready for a deal. So everybody flew back to Washington, and Carter finds out they weren't going to make a deal. They were just teasing, just to humiliate him. He went on national television the Sunday before the election. I will never forget this, and said, "I wish I could tell you when the hostages are coming home. I can't." And by the way, on election eve, as we sat on Air Force One, we had to tell him on the Cronkite Report that evening, the next day's election was not the number one news story. The number one news story, right at the top of the news budget, was the anniversary of the hostage taking. That was bigger news. Carter was screwed. They never sent the hostages back until after he'd been beaten by Reagan. And then when he had left office, they knew exactly what they're doing. They decapitated Carter. And I got to tell you, they're doing the same thing to Trump. They know exactly what the Strait of Hormuz is doing to the oil markets, to the markets generally. They know what we're up to because Trump is on television all the time. They see him. They know how he works and how to hurt him, and they're trying to decapitate him.
All right, we're going to continue this conversation.
You remember that
yeah,
very
I do.
well,
It was
don't you?
very
79
painful.
and 80.
Very, very painful.